Imagine this. You wake up one morning, check your bank account, and see more money deposited than you earned across the entire previous year. You did not play a single minute of football. You do not own a sports team. You have never negotiated a broadcast deal in your life. You simply understood something that the majority of the world completely misses every 4 years. Because buried inside the planet's most watched sporting event is one of the most sophisticated and quietly ruthless money-making systems ever constructed. And the part that genuinely surprises people? Most of the individuals profiting from it are not athletes. They are not even sports fans. They are Airbnb hosts, freelance video editors, merch sellers, content creators, taxi drivers, and entrepreneurs who recognized one fundamental truth, that when the entire world agrees to pay attention to the same thing simultaneously, money flows in every direction. Not just to the top. To everyone positioned correctly within that current. This is not a documentary about football. This is a documentary about what global attention is actually worth, and who collects it. Before we go anywhere near the billions, consider this for a moment. The FIFA World Cup is not just the largest sporting event on Earth. In terms of simultaneous economic activation, it is one of the largest financial events on Earth. Full stop. The 2022 tournament in Qatar accumulated over 5 billion cumulative viewership instances across its duration. The final alone attracted more than 1 billion simultaneous viewers. To put that in perspective, the Super Bowl, America's most watched annual television event, typically draws around 100 million domestic viewers. The World Cup final drew 10 times that number, across every continent, in a single evening. That is not a sports statistic. That is an economic fact. Because wherever sustained global attention concentrates at that magnitude, an enormous transfer of wealth quietly begins. And here is what makes this story genuinely fascinating. That wealth does not only flow to FIFA and corporate giants. It flows to a football YouTuber in London whose channel triples its monthly revenue during tournament weeks. It flows to a freelance thumbnail designer in Lagos suddenly booked solid for 2 months straight. It flows to an Airbnb host in Doha earning in 6 weeks what would normally take most of a year. It flows to a print-on-demand entrepreneur who listed a few World Cup designs on Amazon merch and watched orders arrive while sleeping. We are going to cover all of it. But first, we need to understand where the money originates. FIFA is the starting point. And most people have fundamentally misunderstood what FIFA actually is. It presents itself as the governing body of world football. But in every meaningful financial sense, FIFA is a media licensing corporation that uses football as its content. The tournament is the packaging. The audience is the product. And FIFA sells that product to the highest bidders on earth with extraordinary discipline. For the 2022 World Cup cycle, FIFA generated approximately $10 billion in total revenue. Broadcasting rights contributed roughly half of that figure alone. Television networks across the world, Fox Sports in the United States, the BBC in the United Kingdom, beIN Sports across the Middle East, pay extraordinary sums simply for the legal right to broadcast matches. They then sell advertising slots against those broadcasts at rates that reflect the sheer size of the audience. A single 30-second commercial during a knockout stage match can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in major markets. Networks calculate that the advertising revenue they generate will not simply recover their rights investment, it will significantly surpass it. And that calculation has held consistently across multiple tournament cycles. That is precisely why the bidding for rights keeps climbing. Then come the official sponsors. And this is where the financial architecture becomes genuinely remarkable. But that is only part of the story. Adidas, Coca-Cola, Visa, Hyundai, these companies collectively pay hundreds of millions of dollars to carry the official FIFA partnership designation. But here is the detail most casual observers completely miss. That sponsorship fee is not the real spend. It is the entry ticket. Each brand then activates parallel marketing campaigns worth hundreds of millions more on top of what FIFA received. Adidas designs the official match ball, supplies national team kits, and floods retail stores globally with co-branded merchandise beginning months before the opening match. World Cup years have historically ranked among Adidas's strongest commercial periods. Coca-Cola runs simultaneous campaigns across host cities, participating nations, and every major digital platform. Visa, as the exclusive accepted payment method inside official venues, ensures that every stadium transaction, every bottle of water, every jersey, every food purchase, flows through their network exclusively. That is not a branding benefit. That is a transaction volume advantage worth enormous sums across weeks of continuous high-volume spending. The sponsors are not donating to a sporting occasion. They are purchasing a concentrated river of global consumer attention and placing themselves directly inside it. And the return on that positioning, calculated across merchandise sales, brand equity, and transaction volume, consistently justifies the investment. But here is where the story takes the turn that makes it extraordinary for almost anyone watching this. The money does not stay at the top. It cascades downward through layers of industries and individuals, reaching people at every economic level. And some of those people are doing things that require no special connections, no corporate backing, and no prior experience in sports business. They simply need to understand where global attention is moving before the rest of the world catches up. Consider the content economy first. Football-focused YouTube channels experience viewership surges during a tournament that would be nearly impossible to manufacture under any other circumstance. Channels with steady but modest audiences can find their monthly view counts multiplying several times over during tournament weeks. On YouTube, advertising revenue scales directly with views. More views means more revenue. But that is almost secondary. The permanent audience growth that accumulates during a World Cup frequently stays. Subscribers gained during a tournament tend to remain engaged for years afterward, compounding the long-term value of a short-term surge into something far more durable. Freelancers who service this content economy benefit in parallel. Video editors, thumbnail designers, scriptwriters, and social media managers find themselves suddenly in demand at a scale that justifies premium rate negotiation. Sports media companies, betting platforms, and independent creators all need significantly more output during tournament weeks than they can produce internally. Skilled freelancers who position themselves in this space in advance, building portfolios, establishing relationships, pitching proactively in the months before the tournament, can book themselves solid for the entire duration at rates well above their standard day rate. Print-on-demand entrepreneurs operate in an entirely different lane but extract real value from the same surge in global attention. Someone who designs and lists World Cup-themed products on platforms like Redbubble, Amazon Merch, or Printful requires no inventory, no shipping infrastructure, and no upfront capital. The platform handles production and fulfillment. The creator collects a margin on every sale. Sellers who move early and design effectively can generate income throughout the entire tournament window without ever touching a physical product. Here is what almost nobody notices: most of these sellers are not full-time entrepreneurs. They are people with a basic understanding of what audiences want and the discipline to act before everyone else does. Now picture something more concrete. A woman in Doha lists her 3-bedroom apartment on Airbnb 2 years before the tournament. She spends time researching projected accommodation shortages. She understands that Qatar's hotel infrastructure, despite massive government investment, will still fall short of the demand a World Cup generates. She prices her property competitively but firmly. During the 6 weeks surrounding the tournament, her apartment is booked continuously. Her earnings during that window reportedly represent the equivalent of several months of typical annual income, compressed into weeks. She did not have insider knowledge. She had foresight and positioning. Nothing more. Hotels across Qatar operated at premium rates for the tournament's entire duration. Restaurants near stadiums generated extraordinary revenue during peak match days. Local transportation, taxis, ride-share drivers, private coaches, ran at maximum capacity with elevated pricing for weeks on end. Even neighboring countries captured indirect economic activity. Hotels in Dubai and Bahrain reported notable booking increases from fans using those cities as bases for travel into Doha on match days. The economic gravity of a tournament at this scale does not respect national borders. It simply reaches further than most people expect. And then there are the winners almost no one considers. Private security firms receive contracts years in advance of a World Cup. The personnel requirements for an event of this magnitude exceed what local law enforcement alone can manage, and specialized private companies fill that operational gap at significant contract value. Construction firms profit enormously during the infrastructure phase. Qatar reportedly invested over $200 billion across stadiums, transit systems, roads, and hospitality developments in the years preceding 2022. Specialist firms in crowd management technology, event logistics, and temporary telecommunications infrastructure each carved out substantial revenue within that broader investment cycle. Insurance providers collect significant premiums from organizers, broadcasters, sponsors, and venue operators. Legal sports betting platforms in the United States, United Kingdom, and Europe record some of their highest transaction volumes during World Cup periods. Sports bars across America and the United Kingdom report some of their strongest revenue weeks of the year during tournament rounds, built entirely on an event they paid nothing to host and organized nothing to produce. Remarkable, when you stop and think about it. So who takes home the most? FIFA sits at the summit, converting global attention into approximately $10 billion per cycle. Elite sponsors and broadcasters generate returns that validate nine-figure investments. Host governments gain tourism revenue, infrastructure, and international visibility that can reshape economic trajectories for a decade. The hospitality sector, airlines, and logistics companies earn hundreds of millions within the host region. Entrepreneurs, content creators, merchandise sellers, Airbnb hosts, freelancers, ticket resellers, earn anywhere from thousands to millions depending entirely on their preparation and positioning. And at the foundation, street vendors, taxi drivers, and local shopkeepers earn more in one concentrated month than in an ordinary quarter. The World Cup does not manufacture money. It concentrates it. It pulls economic energy from across the entire planet and focuses it into specific moments, specific screens, and specific human decisions. And the people who understand this, who stop watching the tournament and start watching the money, spend the 4 years in between quietly, carefully, preparing for the wave. The whistle blows. The billions move. And somewhere right now, the next wave is already building. For billions of people, the World Cup is 4 weeks of passion, drama, and memory. But for a quieter group, the ones paying attention to a different kind of scoreboard, it is 4 years of calculated preparation, executed in the precise window when the world looks away from business and toward a football pitch. That is the moment they have been waiting for. That is the moment they move.